Thank you for taking time to join us today. We will now begin the announcement of Honda Motor Company Limited fiscal first quarter ended June 30th, 2026 financial results. First, the executives in attendance. Masao Kawaguchi, Executive Officer and CFO. This is Kawaguchi. How do you do? Sumihiro Takahashi, Operating Executive, Head of Accounting and Finance Unit. This is Takahashi speaking. How do you do? Kawaguchi will outline the fiscal first quarter financial results and FYE March 31st, 2027 financial forecast, followed by Takahashi giving the details. Mr. Kawaguchi, please. At the outset, I would like to express my heartfelt sympathies to all those affected by the earthquake that hit Kumamoto on July 28th and their families. I also sincerely pray for the swift recovery and reconstruction of the affected areas. This slide shows the operating status of our major production sites after the 2026 Kumamoto earthquake. Regarding Kumamoto factory, production is suspended from the evening of July 28th to August 7th for 9 days, and recovery efforts are underway. Thanks to these efforts, operations have been partially resumed today. We will continue to work towards full-scale operations. Regarding our automobile production sites, there have been parts shortages resulting from damage sustained by some suppliers. At Saitama factory, operations will be suspended for a total of 6 days until August 19th, including the summer break. And at Suzuka factory, operations will be suspended from August 6th, tomorrow, to the 19th, in total 5 days, including the summer break. We will monitor developments and decide when to resume production, and will announce at the appropriate timing. Next, fiscal results for the first quarter of the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2027. Operating profit for the first quarter was a record high 530.7 billion yen. No EV-related losses were posted in this first quarter. Motorcycle business. All-time high quarterly operating profit and operating profit margin were achieved, driven by strong global sales, particularly in India and Brazil. Automobile business. Despite struggle in China, unit sales steadily increased, mainly in North America, resulting in operating profit of 192.1 billion yen and an operating margin of 5.0%. Regarding consolidated business forecast for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2027, we revised the exchange rate assumption to 155 yen per US dollar. Operating profit has been revised upward by 150 billion yen to 650 billion yen. Uncertainty in the Middle East calls for careful risk assessment regarding unit sales, material costs, and other factors. Therefore, these assumptions remain unchanged from the previous forecast. EV-related losses have also been revised to reflect the updated currency assumptions. Excluding EV-related losses, adjusted operating profit is projected at 1.17 trillion yen, up 170 billion yen from the previous forecast. Next, financial foundation and shareholder returns. As of the end of the first quarter, net cash of non-financial services business stood at 3.3 trillion yen. we continue to maintain a substantial net cash position and a strong financial profile. Regarding shareholder returns, the forecast for the annual dividend for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2027 remains unchanged from the previous forecast at 70 yen per share. While targeting DOE 3%, we will strive to provide stable and sustainable dividends. Now, the details of the financial results will be given by Mr. Takahashi. Next, I will explain the financial results. First, the first quarter total group unit sales year-on-year was motorcycle sales increased mainly in Asia and other regions, in particular Brazil, to 5,663,000 units. Automobile sales decreased to 786,000 units, led by lower sales in Asia, particularly China. Power product sales decreased mainly in North America to 752,000 units. Next, the Q1 consolidated financial results year-on-year. Operating profit increased by 286.5 billion yen to 530.7 billion yen. Equity method investment profit increased by 18.4 billion yen to 22.6 billion yen. Quarterly profit attributable to owners of the parent company increased by 254.2 billion yen to 450.9 billion yen.
Next, I'll explain factors behind changes in adjusted operating profit, excluding AV-related losses year-on-year. Adjusted operating profit was 530.7 billion yen, up by 164.5 billion yen year-on-year. Sales impact was negative by 6.1 billion yen because of the incremental incentives despite a unit sales increase. Price and cost impact, negative by 3.3 billion yen due to the impact of the soaring material cost. Expenses impact, positive by 6.7 billion yen. R&D impact as 1.7 billion negative. Foreign currency impact, positive by 90.8 billion, and the tariff impact was positive by 78.1 billion yen. Regarding operating profit by business segments, in motorcycle business, operating profit was 233.9 billion yen, marking the highest ever operating profit and its margin of the quarter. In automobile business, operating profit was 192.1 billion. Financial services business made 105.8 billion, and the power products and other businesses ended in 1.1 billion yen operating losses. For motorcycle businesses, we achieved 233.9 billion yen operating profit, up by 44.9 billion yen year-on-year. Regarding factors for the changes, sales impact was positive by 20.6 billion yen due to incremental unit sales mainly in India and Brazil. Price and cost impact, negative by 2.1 billion due to the impact of soaring material cost. Expenses impact, positive by 1.5 billion yen. R&D impact, 2 billion negative. Foreign currency impact, positive by 28.5 billion, and the tariff impact was negative by 1.6 billion yen. For automobile business, we achieved 192.1 billion yen adjusted operating profit, up by 99.7 billion yen year-on-year. Regarding factors for the changes, sales impact was negative by 38.6 billion yen due to incremental sales incentives. Price and cost impact, negative by 1.9 billion yen due to the impact of soaring material costs. Expenses impact, positive by 5.6 billion yen. R&D impact, 800 million yen positive. Foreign currency impact, positive by 52.2 billion, and tariff impact was positive by 81.6 billion yen. Regarding cash flow situations, free cash flows of non-financial services businesses was 128.3 billion yen. Net cash at the end of the period was 3,331.8 billion yen. And operating cash flows after R&D adjustment was 737.1 billion yen. Let me move on to the consolidated financial forecast for financial year ending in March 2027. We will keep the unit sales of the group same as the previous forecast, which will be motorcycles 22.8 million units, automobiles 3.39 million units, and the power products 3.65 million units. With regard to the consolidated financial forecast of financial year ending March 27, operating profit will be 650 billion yen, up by 150 billion over the previous guidance, and profit for the year attributable to owners of the parent will be 400 billion yen, up by 140 billion. Adjusted operating profit will be 1,170 billion yen, up by 170 billion. Assumption foreign currency will be 155 yen for a dollar throughout the year. Regarding factors for changes in expected operating profit as compared to the previous forecast, adjusted operating profit will increase by 170 billion yen because of the forex assumption modified to 155 yen for a dollar. Regarding factors behind the difference of forecasted operating profit from the results of the previous term, adjusted operating profit will increase by 130.6 billion yen year-on-year, for which sales impact will be positive by 266.7 billion yen due to increase of the unit sales of the motorcycles and automobiles. Price and cost impact will be negative by 313 billion yen due to the impact of soaring material costs affected by Middle East and so on, although the cost reduction and the price revisions will work positively for the profit. Expenses impact negative by 8 billion yen, R&D impact 10 billion yen positive. Foreign currency impact will be positive by 28 billion yen, reflecting the updated assumptions, and the tariff impact will be positive by 147 billion yen. Forecast of capital expenditures, depreciation and amortization, and R&D spending for FYE March 2027 will be expected as in the table. CapEx will reflect additional investments and so on for the acquisition of the factory buildings of a joint battery manufacturing company with LG Energy Solution in the United States. Last and not least, regarding dividends, annual dividends for FYE March 2027 will be no different from the previous guidance, keeping 70 yen per share. That is all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for your listening. And now we would like to proceed to the question and answer session. Please link to the Zoom that we have provided you with. In the interest of time, we ask you to limit your questions to 2 per person. And when you ask a question, please turn on your camera and microphone. Those who have questions, please use the raise hand button, please. The first question is from Asahi Shimbun newspaper. Miura-san, please. This is Miura from Asahi Shimbun. Thank you for the explanation. I have 2 questions. First, about the EV-related losses. In the first quarter, it is not factored in. But what is the reason? And also, throughout the year, it is increased to 520 billion yen. But aside from the foreign exchange, are there other factors that affect this result? That's the first question. May I answer now? Can you ask your second question too? Yes, the second question. It is related to automobile market. I do understand that you have continued to have difficulty in China, but can you explain the details? Also, and for the full year, I think the forecast is lower than expected, but yet you have not revised your forecast for the full year sales. And also in July, I think you have entered into extension of maintenance contract. Thank you for the question. About the first question, about the EV-related losses. Allow me to answer that question. First, about the EV-related losses. As you know, North America EV strategy has changed, and as a result, in March, we made the announcement that maximum 2.5 trillion yen losses will be posted. And this is what we announced. In the previous year, of which already 1.3 trillion has been included. And for this fiscal year, well, at the outset of this fiscal year, when we made the announcement, we were saying 500 billion yen. Well, the breakdown is, the most of it is the compensation to our suppliers. About our suppliers and a negotiation that we're having vis-a-vis compensation. Currently, we've just started communication with the suppliers, and we cannot say at this point in time how much compensation will be required. That is the current status, and therefore, in this first quarter, it's not the case that we can include this in our numbers. So that is the current situation. However, through the various communications, the premise that we set out at the beginning of the fiscal year is not being impacted. So that is our understanding. Therefore, this time in our forecast, again, we have maintained the 500 billion yen that we have originally forecast. And with the foreign exchange impact, it has been revised to 520 billion yen. Well, most of our suppliers are in North America, so there is a big foreign exchange impact. And therefore, the foreign exchange impact has been reflected this time in our forecast. The second question about automotive. Your sound was cut off. You were asking about China. Is that correct? Yes. It's about China. In the forecast, I think you are forecasting 500,000. But looking at the actual sales, I think this is lower than expected. So what is your outlook? And also, excuse me, about the extension of the joint venture in July. Can you explain about China? First of all, overall, the market itself, the macroeconomics is very weak, and therefore the overall market is not good. In addition to that, this is due to the oil price increase, I believe. But the breakdown is that ICE, hybrid, these, including EV, NEV, new energy vehicles, are seeing the numbers grow at this cost of ICE and hybrid. So I think that as a result of the oil price increase, this transition is increasing. In the first quarter, just looking at China's ICE and hybrid, compared to last year, I think that the market has shrunk by about 40%. So Honda has been selling mainly ICE and hybrid, and that is the reason why we're seeing this impact. In addition to that, Honda, we are in the transition point of a model change. And so this first quarter, the retail unit, it's slightly more than 80,000. So it's about 50% less than last fiscal year, first quarter. As you pointed out, in the initial, at the outset of this fiscal year, we were saying 480,000 for the whole year. So 80,000 plus is judging from what we said at the outset of this fiscal year, behind schedule. Now, one of the reasons for this is because, as Miura-san has asked, a GAC. We were originally planning to have the contract terminated in 2028, and amongst the Chinese companies, including the dealers, they were thinking that in 2028 the contract will not be extended. I think there were quite a few who were worried that the joint venture agreement would not be extended, and that was one of the reasons why we saw the sales growth low. But as for this contract, we knew that it will expire in 2028, and therefore our joint venture partner, GAC, we have talked with them about a future strategy, trying to make a comeback recovery using local resources, and also looking into how we should run the joint venture. We have had in-depth discussion with our partner, and as a result, we have looked into how we can see a recovery in the Chinese market, and we have an idea as to what strategy needs to be taken. And there were quite a few customers and dealers who were worried, but now we've reached this agreement to extend the contract, and this is the reason why we wanted to make this announcement early on, and we were early to extend the contract. That was the reason. That was the situation. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miura. So next question from Nippon Keizai Shimbun newspaper, Mr. Mukano, please. Mr. Mukano, please. Mukano speaking. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you. I have two questions. First one, the sales in China. Going forward, sales might stay low, and do you plan to have additional restructuring or sorting out of the plans? For instance, in the May update, you mentioned about the Chinese platform or the electronic supplies and so on. And what is the progress today? And what is your prospect about the upcoming progress in this regard? And question two, the collaboration and negotiation is going on with Nissan, and could you update me about current status? And then for Honda, what is the meaning of this collaboration with Nissan for Honda? Thank you for your question. Question one about China. If the air market still stays sour, what would happen? That's the question. And then until now, as Honda, we tried to adapt to the Chinese market by having a drastic and speedy adjustment of the production situations. For instance, ICE, we had a 1.5 million car, the capacity before, but we had a lot of collaborations for the production adjustment with the two joint venture companies with the high speed. And then in this term, in June, for the Guangzhou GAC, we decided to stop the airline for China. Therefore, we had a capacity of a little bit less than 1.5 million cars. And then ICE and hybrid, we now have a 700 plus capacity today. That is a current status of the production capacity. And as for the fixed cost, of course, capacities are also supported by the indirect cost, labors, and so on. And we need to streamline the sales force as well. And we have made a lot of progresses in all of those areas. And then, as I said before, currently, Chinese ICE and hybrid market is shrinking, and that is more rapidly, drastically progressing with the shrinkage of the market. Therefore, we do not have the specific measure as yet at the moment, but we will watch out the market situations, and we will keep discussing about the situations with the partner company. And another thing about China, the utilization of the local suppliers. If you look at the Chinese market, SDVs and advanced technologies developed very fast, and also we can commonize the parts and so on with the suppliers over there, which make them competitive. And the cars which make the customers in China feel valuable about the cars. That is quite successful over there in their part. And then in order for us to deliver the cars to their satisfaction, it is important, critical to make a good use of the local suppliers for us. And for ICE, the local suppliers can be utilized better. And for the next full model change, we are having very good discussions with those suppliers for the next model change. And if we can complete those plans we have on the table, we will be able to provide competitive products for China. And for the EVs, we will have more discussions with the partner company trying to utilize their platform, and discussions and going at the moment. So we will take advantage of them so that we can improve the lineup of the Chinese market to adapt to the market. This way we can try to improve the competitiveness of the products for them. And once we are successful there, I mean, it will take another year or so before we become truly successful in reality. And until now, we have to be working very hard. And those initiatives we have at the moment are going on track. And the second question is about alliance with Nissan. In 2024 already, even before the possible integration of the companies, we were talking about possible collaboration, partnership, and SDVs, and we were already talking about possible joint programs, SDV, joint development, batteries, and exchange or sharing of the vehicle platforms and so on. And then the management integration has been abandoned, unfortunately. And even that, we revisited the electrification efforts and so on. And in that backdrop, SDV's importance still is there. So in each of those areas, we would like to work together with Nissan so that we can take advantage of the volume we have from each other. And I think this is a very good strategy for both of us. At the moment, we do not have any specific thing I can share. And of course, things going on very fast out there. And we will try and work harder so that we can give you some input sometime soon. And of course, we like to take advantage of the volume we have and theirs as well, so that we can deliver the valuable products for the markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mukano. The next question is from Yomiuri Shimbun newspaper. Mr. Ukita, please. And this is Ukita speaking. So, can you hear me? Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. About the financial results. You say that you have an all-time high profit. So what is your impression? And I think the foreign exchange impact is large, but the reason for the increase in sales, unit sales, and about Kumamoto earthquake, I think the impact is being prolonged. Well, all automobile manufacturers are being impacted. And I think that you are targeting for a recovery soon, but can you talk about what would happen if the suspension were to be prolonged? Well, about the first quarter, how we see the numbers. Yes, we have an all-time high. 530 billion. This is a very powerful number, operating profit. And compared to our plan, though we have not disclosed this, against that plan, it exceeds our original anticipation. Well, the first quarter, to begin with, in the case of Honda, the development cost and SG&A, well, it tends to be that it concentrates in the second half, and the numbers tend to be higher in the first quarter. But in addition to that, I think the foreign exchange impact. Well, currently, there has been a joint U.S.-Japan intervention, but there has been a fluctuation. But the first quarter, the yen was weaker than we expected, and also the raw material costs. This again, compared to initial estimate from the beginning of this year, we have been seeing that the steel prices and other raw material costs were going up. So there was that impact, and the Middle East outlook is uncertain. We were anticipating that there would be inflation. Therefore, in the beginning, we were thinking that there will be a 360 billion yen cost increase. So this was factored in. In the first quarter, in April, May, there were an increase in raw material costs, but in June, it started to settle down. And therefore, compared to what we were assuming, expecting, it did not go up as much as we had thought. And also the unit sales, as you said, the motorcycle business did well, plus automobiles too. As I said, China, we did struggle, but in North America especially, we saw that our unit sales increased significantly. Well, the gasoline prices are high now, so the market and customers are trying to switch to low fuel consumption hybrid vehicles. So this was an advantage. In April, May, our share increased to more than 10% for the first time in 5 years. And this also had contributed to the high operating profit in the first quarter. Going forward, the Middle East impact will be seen in various areas. And it is hard for us to predict what will happen. And therefore, do you think that this is as much as we can do? Well, there is no one-time factor, but we have to look at what the automobile sales would be like in the United States. Well, July was good, but we have to carefully monitor what will be happening in the U.S. market. About the motorcycle unit sales, India. Last year, well, the GST, this tax was cut, and therefore the market was strong. And this is still continuing now. Well, we're thinking that we wanted to increase the numbers more, but because of the production capacity and others, well, India, we are increasing the capacity, but I think we should be trying to increase it more. But thanks to the India as well as Brazil, the economy is stable, and thanks to that, we have increased our motorcycle production capacity in Brazil too. So these were the contributors. Now, the second question about Kumamoto earthquake. Well, if I may repeat, I would like to express my sympathy to those who've been affected by the mega earthquake. Our motorcycle plant is in Kumamoto. The impact of the earthquake there, well, at the time of the earthquake, the sprinkler reacted, and so the plant was soaked in water, and we are trying to recover now. But as for the equipment, so far, we don't see that there has been any major damage done to the equipment. Currently, within the plant, they are making the confirmation with safety first. And where we can restart, we are restarting. So as soon as possible, we would like to fully restart operation. About automobiles, in Saitama and Suzuka factories, well, unfortunately, our suppliers have been hit by the earthquake, and we are communicating with them right now. And every day the situation is changing, so we are keeping in close communication to understand when production can restart. But there will be a summer break next week. We were originally planning for this summer break. So up until that point in time, we have decided to suspend production. And after the summer break, for about 2 days, or 3 days rather, we will suspend operation. But during the summer break, up until the 19th, I think we will be getting a lot of information. And based on that, we would like to make the judgment. Thank you.
はい、浮田様、ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Ukita-san. Thank you.
はい。はい、お待たせしました。それでは続きまして。
Thank you. Next, from Kyodo Tsushin, Koshika-san, please.
小鹿様、つながりましたでしょうか。よろしくお願いします。
Koshika-san, are you there?
すいません、聞こえますでしょうか。
Thank you. Can you hear me?
よろしくお願いします。
説明ありがとうござ
So
います。
thank you for explanation. Kyodo Tsushin, Koshika speaking.
埼玉は、すいません、失礼しました。
Kumamoto earthquakes, its impact. Could you elaborate a little bit more about it?
埼玉と鈴鹿
Saitama, Suzuka
の
plants and your subsidiary Auto Body
あの予定されています。
had a plan to stop. And specifically, what kind of parts or components affected by that?
取引先のサプライヤーで
And at the suppliers,
具体的に
there are,
取引先
well, how many suppliers have been affected, causing some troubles for the supplies? And other automotive companies, probably starting up again on the 6th of the month, and then there are some time differences or lags in your case. And what is the situation for you? Could you elaborate on that, please?
はい、
Koshika-san, thank you for your question.
もうちょっと詳しい話を
So, further information about it, right? And Saitama and Suzuka automotive plants and auto body as well.
品で今確認している
Several parts and components we are at the moment checking on the situation. Damper is one of those major products affected at the moment.
我々のグループ会社のアステモさん
And Astemo group company, they have a plant near the epicenter. And I heard that they had quite a bigger damage on that. And I'm sure that they are focusing on the recovery. And we are talking with each other, trying to find out when they can restart again. And of course, they're working very hard, struggling to restart. And at the moment, it is kind of difficult to get precise information. Same story for us, demo, but they are working very hard on that. And as far as we know at the moment,
ここまで一旦我々として生産
well, up until now, we decided that we should stop for a while until the recovery could come. And
日々
situation is quite dynamic, changing every day, and I'm sure they're working very hard. But if there are any updates, we will let you know.
どうもありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
はい小鹿様
Thank you. Thank you, Koshika-san.
それでは続いての
The next question, please.
日刊自動車新聞
The Nikkan Jidosha Shimbun.
お願いいたします。
Mr. Fukui, please. Daily Automotive Newspaper. This is Fukui speaking. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you. I would like to ask about sales. Mr. Kawaguchi said that North America is doing well. On page 7, about the factors that are contributing to the operating profit, you say that the product mix is plus. But about incentives, you said that incentives are increasing. So I think there might be an offset there. Incentives, they are mainly in North America, I believe. Well, hybrid is strong, but I think it might be that incentives are increasing because of the competitive market. Can you explain about the situation in North America? That's one. Plus, the second question is about the domestic situation. Domestic sales is also doing well, and focus, you are trying to increase the sales, but what are the factors contributing to this increase, and what is the outlook at the same time? Plus, everyone is asking about this, about the Kumamoto earthquake. I think this have an impact on sales. At this point in time, can you estimate how much impact it will have on unit sales and what you plan to do to recover, please? Yes, and thank you for the question. About North America, as I said, well, the gasoline prices are soaring, and therefore the customers are wanting to purchase hybrid. And even gasoline, ICE vehicles, I think of that because fuel economy is very good, our models are popular. About incentives, compared to last year, well, the models themselves, our major models, are on the verge of a model change. And this is as originally planned, but from the fourth quarter of last fiscal year, we have increased incentives because of the competition with the competitors, and therefore we have tried to compete in terms of sales. Well, this is the incentive as planned. Well, last fiscal year, well, looking back, we had the issue of tariffs, and there was a special demand coming for people rushing in to buy before the tariffs were introduced. So compared to the first quarter, you might say that you cannot see the numbers clearly, but just looking at the first quarter alone, even if we look at just the first quarter, you will see, and also from the share perspective and incentive perspective, I think that we have had a very solid result in this first quarter. Going forward, I think that competitors will intensify competition. I think we will try to bring down the incentives as much as possible. Looking at the July actual numbers, I think we are progressing well. The rest is up to the gasoline price. I think the customers' preference will be impacted by how the gasoline prices hover. So that is something that we have to look into. And about Japan, registered cars and I think that we have exceeded the previous year. Looking at the market, it's about 107% increase year on year, and we saying 108%. So I think the market average was 107, whereas we are 108. Registered cars, especially Super One, this model has been very popular amongst our customers. Of course, there was partially the subsidy that has to explain, but it is equipped with boost mode, and it's very Honda-like. So the fans appreciate the EV because of its Honda identity, and a Vezel and Step Wagon and Freed, these models too. We have carried out sales promotion, and this has been very effective. So thanks to that, we are seeing this growth in the domestic market. Now, what about the outlook? Well, this fiscal year, I think that we will carry out model change, which will be appealing to our customers, and therefore we want to grow sales through these new models. But the BYD Rakko is a big topic, and if you look at the details, I think the Chinese have been very conscious about the preference of Japanese customers. Price-wise, also, it's very strategic, and it is a threat. But looking at it from a different perspective, the Japanese EV market is only about 2%. The EV is not that popular. So with this new EV player, so to say, it might be that this would have a positive impact on the market. And Honda also, we want to try to introduce different EV models to the Japanese market. And therefore, we want to try to build up the EV market here in Japan. Thank you. About the earthquake impact, how about that? Yes, to be very honest, we don't know how much impact it will have on our unit sales at this point in time. That's our honest position. But I don't think that there will be such a big impact. But at this point in time, I cannot give you any numbers as to how much impact it will have. Thank you.
はい、福井様ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Mr. Fukui.
続いてのご質問です。
Next question from Toyo Keizai, Mr. Yamada, please. Yamada from Toyo Keizai, thank you for your presentation. So motorcycles, very good. And you talked about India, Brazil. They're utilizing the full capacity of the plant, I heard. And as for the plans, your unit sales plans is kept unchanged. And is this something you anticipated from the beginning, or is that because of some other reasons behind, such as the scheduling and so on, not enough confidence, for instance? And another question is EV-related losses. In the quarter one, you do not have a full inclusion because of the supplier negotiations still going on. And can we expect some of those losses to be put up in the second quarter onward, or little by little in the second half and onward? What is the plan to handle those losses? Thank you for your question. Second question will be addressed by Takashi-san. And motorcycles, the unit sales is really good. And quarter one, it is better than our immediate plans, our plans at the moment. And for the second half, this moment, we did not have major concerns or anything. Maybe one thing could be the regulations in Vietnam. Since last year, we were talking about the restrictions of those riding of the motorcycles in some areas. However, they have a stepwise approach, therefore it is not causing a serious effect on that. And the Middle East, no one knows at the moment as to what is the impact to be for the global economy. We have to monitor what's going on, and including motorcycle businesses, we will watch carefully what's going on to update the plans for the unit sales. EVs? Okay, so EV-related losses, we announced that in March, and from April we have many negotiations with them, talking about what kind of the losses expected from now, and we are still in the middle of the negotiations with them. And in the first quarter period, the negotiation went on continually, so we were not able to put it up in the book. And then we had lots of conversation with many suppliers, and then we will have more information once we get more confidence in those impact. By that, we will be able to put them up as we go, so much on the first half, so much on the second half, and so on. So those will be calculated and factored into those financial results, stepwise approach as we go. So please understand how we do. Thank you very much for explanation. Thank you, Yamada-san.
The next question, please. NHK, Taruno-san, please. This is Taruno from NHK. Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes, thank you. Thank you. I also have a question in relation to the Kumamoto earthquake. From the 19th onward, you say that you'll make a judgment looking at the situation, but are you going to think about, are you going to look into alternative sourcing, or is it up to ASTEMO that you will make the judgment? You say that you don't know at what point in time the recovery can take place. So am I correct in understanding that that is the current situation? About the other question is about the foreign exchange. Well, I think one of the major reasons for this good result is the currency. Now, I believe that the impact is about 10 billion per 1 yen fluctuation, but over the past 10 years, this has been going down. The yen is weak, and this is a positive for you, but what is your thinking towards the foreign exchange? If it's a weaker yen, is it an advantage for you, or is that not necessarily the case? Can you explain? Thank you. Thank you. Well, about the Kumamoto impact, well, we are saying we'll resume on the 19th for automotive, but as we said, as minimum, we have a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers who have been affected, and we don't know at this point in time what the situation will be. So we don't have a 100% understanding of what the current status is. But as far as the information that we have at hand, we believe that at least until the 19th, we should suspend production. That is our current status. But is the case where we will have a drastic plan to source alternatively? Well, we have to talk with our suppliers about that. So at this point in time, we cannot say that it will be necessary to source from alternative sources or not. Unfortunately, we cannot say anything definitive. But despite this mega earthquake, everyone is making every effort to try to recover. And we also want to keep in close communication with the people there. That is the only thing that we can do at this point in time. About the currency impact and about the sensitivity. Well, in principle, we try to produce where the demand is. Like others, Honda, we are not exporting that much from Japan to the United States. That is the system that we have. Meanwhile, we have a large profit in the U.S. So when we convert this back into Japanese yen on our financial statements, we do see that the numbers are large. Taking all these things into consideration, we think the sensitivity is between 10 to 12 billion yen per yen. And so we say the EV-related losses. But we have a lot of American suppliers, and payment to these suppliers, because the U.S. denominated compensation will mean that the weaker yen will be a disadvantage. Well, currency, especially in Asia and also in motorcycles, Brazil, well, we are doing business in different markets. And for example, from India, we're exporting to different destinations. And I think that also has an impact. So we cannot simply say that once the yen moves from 1 yen, then we have a 10 billion yen impact. It's not as simple as that. So there are areas which are good and other areas that are bad. So we can offset. And this is what we think is necessary to meet these fluctuations in the currency. That is all. Thank you. That was very easy to understand.
Thank you, Taruno-san. Unfortunately, because of the time constraints, our next question is going to be the last one. Nikkei Automotive, Tsuchiya-san, please. Nikkei Cross-Tech, Tsuchiya speaking. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you. So semiconductor supplies. DRAM, memory, GM, and Ford have a long-term supply agreement. And recently, AI provides a lot of demands for the memories and so on. But are there risks for the soaring prices or supply risks? Are there any impact on their businesses? And what is the countermeasures in the future for the semiconductors? Thank you for your question. And as you said right now, DRAM and NAND memories. As you know, the cars have meters, ADAS, ECU, display audios, which require semiconductors. And then cars will be more intelligent going forward and will need more semiconductors going forward. And as you mentioned, needs for the memories actually the needs from the data centers and other businesses are very strong. Therefore, it is tight. And then memory suppliers are trying hard as well to try to keep the good balance of the supply. And probably after the year 27, their efforts will be more effective in terms of the supplies. But for Honda, we try to get a stable procurement based on the various initiatives. For instance, for the automobile legacy memories, let's say, we are quite positive about those legacy-type memories, and we would have more dealing with those suppliers of the semiconductor of the legacy ones. And then we would go for the long-term agreement where possible. And we have many initiatives that are trying to get hold on those semiconductors. I cannot give you the details at the moment. However, Honda has a good hands the measures to get the supplies, and I do not have any problems. We don't have any problems about the procurement of that. However, the cost is soaring, getting more expensive. And then because of the supply-demand situation, the memory prices are going up. And right from the beginning of the financial year, we gave you the forecast, and then we already factored in the additional 20-30 billion yen cost increase because of the supply of the semiconductors, and we already know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tsuchiya. And with this, we would like to conclude our briefing session. As for the materials that we've used, they are posted on our website for you to refer to. Once again, we thank you for your participation.